My name is Raymond Blanchard. I am a certified master baker, and I am the associate corporate chef here at Dawn Foods. And today I'll be making one of my absolute favorites, and that is strawberry mousseline. Mousseline is pastry cream that has been mounded with some butter. So in your kitchen, how you would start with this is going to be your strawberries. Strawberries have just recently gone out, but you can still find them. This is a great way to utilize strawberries that maybe don't have the most flavor. I'm just gonna macerate them, which is real fancy for me saying I'm gonna cut strawberries and put a bunch of sugar on top of it and let it sit for a hot minute. Strawberries for me will always remind me of being a kid in South Florida, going to a U-Pick with my mom, and that going ahead and being probably the only fresh fruit or vegetables I ever had until well into my 20s. For real, no joke, right? I grew up on Chef Boyardee, Steakums, all that stuff. That was me. So strawberries hold a lot for me.
You made it through Steakums. That's impressive, right?
Yeah, thank you. I'll regale you about Spam if you have time later. It'll be the best.
Oh my gosh, Steakums.
So as I'm cutting these strawberries up, every strawberry is not the same, but what I want is big, huge pieces. I'm gonna cover them with the sugar to macerate it, and what that sugar is gonna do is it's gonna help draw out the moisture from it and give it its own juice. But while it is doing that, it is also slightly shrinking the strawberry. So you don't want to have tiny, tiny pieces or they'll just straight turn to mush. You want a good sized chunk in it. I have my strawberries cut. Obviously, I washed them first. Make sure you wash your berries. Always wash your berries, right?
And dry them?
And dry them. So roughly 2 tablespoons for every cup. I'm just gonna mix, and then with TV magic, these are gonna go away. I will plastic wrap them and then let them sit. So the next thing that you wanna have ready, if we're gonna make this, right, I'm gonna make my pastry cream and it's gonna take a little bit of time to cool down, and then I'll add my butter. So what I will do, depending on how many I have to make or how many you have to make in your shop, you can cut strawberries for the final cake or start making your pastry cream. I need to say that now because towards the end you'll forget this part because it makes a lot of sense. If I'm making 10 of these or if I'm only making one, when am I gonna cut those and put them in? All right, let's make some pastry cream or custard or pudding, depending on how you wanna say it. Right here I have whole milk. I'm gonna put about half of my milk in here. Turn on your burner and it can go all the way up. I'm gonna put in about half to 2/3 of my sugar. Stir, just slightly. This is cornstarch. You can make your pastry cream with flour as well, and that will sit in your freezer really nice. Pastry cream with cornstarch, it's gluten-free, that also is nice. When you are adding in your liquid to cornstarch, you are now making a slurry. And you want a lot of liquid in this. You do not want it to be a paste. Does anyone here make scratch pastry cream for their shops? Excellent, yes.
Chef, how many methods of making pastry cream are there?
Well, in terms of the amount of different ways that you can manipulate the ingredients, there's quite a few. You can put the eggs in a mixer and whip them up, and that'll help incorporate in your other ingredients. You can also, I have for many years put all of my sugar in the dairy, because if I were to put my sugar, if I tell a little 15-year-old Johnny, hey, put the sugar with the yolks, he's gonna dump all the sugar on my eggs and then walk away and not stir, and that's gonna be my sugar burn, and then you're gonna have little specks in your eggs and no one's happy. So, and then this one right here, the one I'm showing you, that's what I have for you. So in my cornstarch and my dairy, I also have whole eggs. and I have yolks. Get rid of this.
So you did a combination of yolks and whole eggs? Why is that?
So I have whole eggs and I have yolks. This is an excellent one. Who else can tell me why? Is there anyone?
Yes, chef.
Yes, chef. That's perfect. So I'm going to put in some yolks to give it a little more unctuousness, and that's that extra fat added into it.
Right. So some pastry creams use whites to make them stiffer, and some use just yolks to make them more custardy. Some use a combination, so depending on what you're doing in your shop, you can adjust parts of the eggs you use, depending on the final application you're using.
Yeah,
On the cold process,
everything she just said.
What's that?
on the cold process, can you make cream pies out of it?
You can, you just have to- You have to move really, really quickly. It's not going to slice as beautifully as a hot process one, but you will be able to get some of that slice out of it. It's better for like a fruit tart than it's going to be a cream pie. Yeah. What's that? It is. Excellent question, Ashley. It's like you've worked with him before.
And the cold process is not.
The cold process can be freeze thawed, but it's not bake stable, as opposed to the one that she's talking about that can go all three. Yeah.
Creme frite has color and flavor, or the creme patisserie, the hot process?
The hot process one, does it have added color or flavors? Yeah, is the question. It does have vanilla added to it, and there are some, I'm going to forget which one it is that we put in it, but it's one in, I want to say the one we used for cheese, I'm forgetting what it is offhand, but yeah.
Spec sheets on expired, Matt.
I'll start for you.
Thank you.
Ingredient legends and all.
So, while we were chit-chatting about some speedy cream, all I did was take my vanilla bean, which I like to lay flat, fillet it up, and then pull my blade across it and then scoop out the seed. You can put your pod in here. I don't put my pod in the cream, so I don't have to wash it and take care of it. My favorite thing to do with that pod is then put it in my sugar bin for my coffee, because I like my sugared coffee. All right. And if I had my pod in here, I would hit the brakes on my cream, throw a plastic wrap on it, let it steep for about 10, 15 minutes, a little bit longer, as I'm waiting for my yolks and eggs, and walk away. But steeping it will help pull out more flavor from the pod. I don't have the pod in there. And my yolks are almost ready.
I'm ready when you are.
I'm ready. Thank you. Yeah, because I'm definitely going to do a little excellent. Perfect. So now that I have my eggs, yolks, cornstarch, milk, sugar, my little slurry here, I have dairy and my vanilla bean going. Gonna bring it back up to a simmer, temper in, right? Because I want to be able to have this liquid similar temperature as this liquid, right? There we go. Slowly. Getting it similar temperature, and then I'm gonna add it back in thirds. And that is because if I were to start adding all of this in, it's gonna tank the temperature of the mixture I have in the pot. And I really want to be able to let that slurry mix in and not let the temperature tank, so it can come together, get thick, and I can start on almost the boiling process here. Once I'm there, I'll add in another third, I'll repeat, and then I'll add in the final, and just keep mixing. Once I come to a boil, I'll set a timer for 1 minute, and keep mixing to let that cornstarch really cook out.
Do you have to increase the time depending on how much custard you're cooking, Chef?
You do have to increase the time depending on how much you got going on.
How much? Like, what would that look like?
Oh man, if I was trying to make a giant steam kettle batch worth, it would at least be, I would put 2 full minutes on my boil.
Might it be a minute per quart of liquid, Chef?
But it might be a minute per quart of liquid, correct? So I've added in my second third, and I am at a whisk, 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 whisk. As you can see on the monitor maybe, it's getting thick, just like a pastry cream should. Don't forget your edges.
For you. You got it.
Thank you. I have a handy dandy timer on my watch. And as you can see, I have my butter right here. So after it comes to a boil, I'll keep stirring, and then I can slowly start adding in my butter.
Chef, we have tasting spoons for the group if you'd like to check for the starch to be cooked out prior to mounting the butter.
Absolutely, I have them pulled out just for that.
When you're ready.
Thank you, thank you. Oh, stir, stir, stir. Strawberry mousseline cake. This cake holds a very special spot for me. I have a very good friend who asked me if I wanted to do a cake competition down in Florida, down in Palm Beach, at a local museum, the Palm Beach Museum. So I said, yeah, let's do it. So we proceeded to make a giant chocolate showpiece instead of a cake. And we did like a 4-foot palm tree with a bunch of chocolate leaves, and we made a frame out of chocolate. It was gorgeous. It was just super beautiful. And we showed up with a pistachio cake in this chocolate showpiece. Our showpiece was the very best. Everyone stopped to look at it. It was just lovely. However, it was a cake competition, so we did not win at all. And everyone wanted pictures of this showpiece because it was so gorgeous. The guy that won made this one simple strawberry mousseline cake, took first place easily. And that's my strawberry mousseline cake. And so I constantly make this and think, yes, don't show up to the baseball game with a NASCAR. Play the game that you came here to play, right? So what we're looking for, right, is we're looking for that boil. Not a baby boil, not almost at a boil, but it should be at a boil. At a boil, I got my 1 minute timer going. And you whisk, 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 whisk. So, may I please have that half pan with plastic wrap on the table, please? So I have prepared ahead of time a half sheet pan with the plastic on it. That has been the very best way that I've ever known to cool down my pastry cream. If not a lot of people do that, that's the best way that I know. There's plenty. There's a half hotel pan with plastic wrap right on top of it. But this one right here has always been tried and true for me. I do strain it before I put it in there, yeah. And sometimes I do also like to strain it when I have, at the very beginning, with the milk, but usually my straining will go right after this. And once it's in the pot, and then I can add my butter, the straining will also help cool it down a touch. Oh yeah. What else do I got for you here? With some pastry cream.
How might we taste custard to tell if the starch is cooked out?
How am I gonna, oh, that's where I was going with it, yeah. So, I think one of the fun things about teaching people how to taste food happens a lot here, which is great. But what are we talking about? We are looking at, just real quick. So with your induction burner, much like a very heavy bottom pot, I want to keep stirring the bottom correct so it doesn't burn up while I'm sitting here chitter chattering. Then I would do the same thing in the kitchen. I would just stir the bottom a little bit to let that strong heat stop. Talking about tasting for cornstarch, thank you. we will take little spoons and taste, and what do I want you to do? I want you to be able to smush the pastry cream across the entire surface of your tongue, and then you're going to rub that on the roof of your mouth. And you're looking to see if it's chalky is usually the word that I like to use a lot. It's the best one that I can think of. It's not so much grainy or anything else, but that's how you can tell. Very much like if you're used to making gravy, lots of people make gravy, it's the same thing. Look at me. It's the one thing I didn't bring up here was my ladle for my chinois there.
Why don't we
That's
taste
my
while you're
butter.
waiting?
We got a spoon.
Lots of them. You guys want to come up?
And it will be getting butter added to it here shortly, and then I will also paddle up some butter and add that into it. So we're talking butter twice. That's what I got for you, butter twice. Yeah, vanilla bean, it's the best.
How will the flavor change once the butter hits it?
So, best thing about adding your butter into it, much to her point, is going to be one, fat equals flavor, but what else is fat going to do? Fat is going to distribute all that flavor. It's going to run over your tongue, and since it melts below body temperature, it'll evenly coat.
Do you ever use an immersion blender when you add your butter? Instead of this?
I have used an immersion blender, absolutely. So I'm gonna add in my butter a little bit at a time, right? I don't wanna add in loads and loads because it'll be harder for it to homogenize, re-homogenize.
Why do you put the butter in at different temperatures?
Why do I put the butter in at different temperatures? So when we get to that second butter, I'm gonna make sure that the butter that goes in the temperature of my cream should be about 90 degrees when I add in that second butter, so it doesn't melt off that butter, because melted butter and room temp soft butter have two different textures, and then will also react differently in the custard, and also react slightly different on your tongue as you're tasting it, because it will take a little bit longer to melt because it is solid. Get all the butter in here. Butter, butter. There we are. Whisk, whisk, whisk. Clean up my butter, and I'll strain it. What I'll be doing after that will be cutting up some strawberries to line the inside of my cake mold. Whisk, 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 whisk. Thank you, thank you. A little bit of this. Now I have my pastry cream and my strainer. Slow it down, slow it down. I should have grabbed my other strainer because, well, the two strainers, I have a couple of strainers, and one is my china cap. So while that's happening, I can wait a minute for the china cap to come back.
So, Chef, can you walk me through exactly what this tort will look like finished while we're waiting, and where might you send that in the shop?
So what I have for you here is an 8-inch cake ring, and I have 8-inch cake board underneath. Inside of it, I have a guitar sheet, cake sheet. I like guitar more than acetate. Acetate's real heavy and will crack. Guitar, nice and flimsy, will stick against the side. A little piece of tape is okay. What really helps will be a little baby dot of apricot jam. Raspberry better, because then you can see it, the color difference inside. I will cut the strawberries in half and line them on the outside of the facing out. This thing would look great in your case, and it'll last for about 5 days. This will go good on your buffet. You can put gelatin in this. I don't or have not put gelatin in it in a long time, but you can put gelatin in it if it's gonna sit in your buffet case for a while. But because it has so much butter in it, it'll sit. It'll firm up and it's not gonna drop or droop. The only thing that might be worrisome will be the strawberries on the outside. After a couple of days, they'll start to wilt and they start to leak into the cake board.
I'll be out of your way in a
Thanks,
moment.
Chef. Oh no, you take where everything's great, so good.
Can I ask questions too? So if you add gelatin to it, does
Oh.
it change the name of it?
Hey.
You gotta get the Mousseline
That's
in
pretty
it.
sweet. I like that a lot.
That's very good.
There you go.
All right. So
Might
now
have
that
you
I have my
about
ladle, now that I have my cream, now that we're moving along here, back at a regular pace, still keeping on time. So I have cake layers that will also go in this. You do not have to make them from scratch, although that's fine. But because of the ingredients that are in this, which is the macerated strawberries, that are really gonna soak into that cake, honestly, I found as long as that cake is light and airy, it will work out. I wouldn't do an angel food cake in that, but I would do it. We have a high ratio cake. I'm used to making it with chiffon cakes as well. And I will take that 8-inch cake and cut it into in half or cut it into thirds, depending. For today's cake, I have cut it in half so the cake will absorb all of the juice from the strawberries.
If you were to add gelatin, when would you add it?
For me, I'll add the gelatin after I strain it. You could add it before, but if you've melted your gelatin properly, if you're straining out gelatin, you're not getting the full strength of the gelatin. So for me, I would normally do it after, but I suppose you did it beforehand. You make sure there weren't any gelatin chunks either. Excellent question. Any other questions?
Why would there be gelatin chunks?
There would be gelatin chunks because we did not properly hydrate our gelatin.
I love that everyone's
You're
getting
a keeper. Oh yeah, bring it on down, man. I love it. It's the
Let's do
best.
this together.
Right,
Let's do
right,
this
right.
together.
If you were to use a Dawn cake, what would you use?
Oh, I would use the Baker's Request White.
Is that what we're using today?
That is what we're using today. And we can move that into calling it a speed scratch, which is called a speed scratch entremet.
Look at that internal crumb. It's nice, huh?
Would you say this one bakes flat?
That's our cake mix.
All right.
Yeah. It looks chiffonish. Yeah.
It looks chiffonish, but this is
Chiffonish.
again
Could you
a mix
add
rather
more
than
air
a
to
scratch.
that if you wanted to?
You says you can make chiffon out of it?
Yeah, could you make a chiffon?
You can make chiffon works better out of our cream cake than out of our high ratio mix. So, and those recipes can be found on donfoods.com. But if you're gonna do a chiffon, use the cream cake.
Do we have other mixes that might also work if you wanted to make something that was more sponge-like?
You want me to get in there? You got it.
Yeah, you could jump in there. I heard a good one
No, that
today.
always helps,
No,
too.
I heard a really good one today about, not that I would consider it unless I was serving it in individuals, but red velvet cake. The red velvet would work fast, but I think it would break down quickly. And but if it was in an individual or a plated dessert, I think it would work out really well.
We do have a sponge cake mix, an RNH sponge cake mix, which works really well with any sort of sponge cake applications, but it's closer to a chinoise. So if you're looking for a chiffon type application, I would use either this high ratio cake or cream cake mounted with meringue.
Or. You throw this in the cooler for me? All right, here we are. I have my 8-inch cake pan. I have my guitar sheet in there. So I am looking to have very similar sized strawberries, and I want to cut them about as close as possible to the same height. cut them in half. If they're really big, I have cut them in thirds and it's fine. I'm gonna do strawberries 2 different times in these. In this entremet, I will put strawberries facing the outside, so nice big strawberries, and then inside, the macerated strawberries. For everyone to meow, meow, meow. Meow, 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 did it? Good.
Did.
Excellent, excellent.
I love how you're not using our compost. That makes me so happy.
You're welcome. It's all gonna go in the compost. Maybe they didn't know there was no compost.
They knew.
They knew. I heard. I was part of the tour. We got on the camera here. I am lining him up.
And they're facing out.
Beautiful.
So.
Facing out.
Yeah.
Right next to each other. Tight, tight, tight. Very good, very good.
It's a super classic technique can be found in culinary textbooks the world around.
Super classic technique. Yeah.
So you don't put your sponge down first, then put your strawberries on top.
I did not do that one. So what I got for you, take a look, or you see on the camera, all the way around strawberries. Then, first cake layer, I have cut it down to fit the inside. And I'm gonna pipe in my cream all around the outside and get it in there nice and tight so there's no air pockets. And then I will fill up with macerated strawberries. All right, pastry cream, pretty please. So what I have for you over here is more butter. So you can see me. I don't want to be hiding in the
I'll
corner.
run this for you so that.
That's kind of you.
Kind job.
Perfect, perfect. So I am just paddling up the butter nice and soft and fluffy so then it can
Here, Joshua, set that over there.
receive the pastry cream.
And for those who don't know, Chef
those who
Raymond
don't
is
know.
a certified master baker
Oh.
with the Retail Bakers of America.
And he represents, he's got it on his shoulder.
Keep your fist. Just tell me what to do.
So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna add in about a third of the pastry cream into my paddled up butter. And if you don't know, you can tell, hey, did you do a good job on your pastry cream? Did it set up? Was I able to fold my pastry cream on top of itself? Which is what I did. So gelatinous isn't a great word, but in this case, it really comes across true for me. That's what I'm looking for. And this is going to really, really help incorporate it in a way that I had first learned it to have your have your pastry cream in a bowl ready, and then start adding in your butter in pieces. And I've seen that and done that way, and it's very good. This way kind of eliminates any possibilities of butter chunks that I've found, because I'm adding in a third of my pastry cream into the butter that paddles it up, and then I'm gonna add in almost all the rest of it, slowly mix it up, put the rest in, mix, 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 and then I'll transfer a whisk, 20 seconds, 15 seconds, just till it homogenizes, and then I'm ready to put it in a piping bag and go to it. Tools, what are we looking for here for tools? I need a piping bag with a small tip. It's most important because I'm going to pipe down into the little crevices of where the strawberries are, all that negative space. My macerated strawberries out. That's super good. This, that. What's next? What's next? Pastry cream piped in, and then my last layer will go right on top. And then I'm gonna add in a little more and then smooth it right across the top.
This
Another way that, what's that? Just gonna say, another great way to macerate your strawberries would be liquor. I wouldn't do extracts, which is powerful, but a liquor is really, really nice. If you throw in some compound into that, that will also be real nice. I like to, I have done this particular mousseline, but I macerated it with passion fruit. So passion fruit, vanilla bean, and sugar. I also have macerated it with brown sugar. I've done this with brown sugar angel food cake. So if you make your angel food cake with brown sugar, it comes out a little more dense, and that will help keep the integrity, the structural integrity inside of the cake, and won't break down and be mushy.
So it gives a little bit of a caramel flavor to it.
Yeah, it adds a nice caramel flavor, a nice butterscotchy type of thing. That makes that angel food cake real good. That crust on the outside of the angel food cake when you do brown sugar, super good. I was gonna make raised Bismarck, yeast raised Bismarcks, fill it with mousseline, and then take my macerated strawberries, cut them a little smaller, add gelatin, cast it out into circles, and discs. Put the disc on top of the donut, pipe a little bit of whip around the outside, fill it with mousseline. Very expensive donut, however. But
Chef, we've come together. Maybe they want to taste this and check the difference.
yeah, I've seen them at grocery stores. I've seen them at the farmer's market too.
So maybe check out the difference between first time and second time. I got you. Love you too.
That was half hard.
I know. There you go. Ching.
I need a big spoon of that. Sorry.
Totally.
Oh yeah,
Totally. It's gonna
that's why we handed out the small spoons.
Don't have any left.
for this place.
Yes.
Super similar to early buttercream. Yeah, we are.
So,
Reach.
thank you. Correct. All right, so I have my mousseline in the bag. I am going to pipe into the cavities first, tight inside of the strawberries. Get all the cavities so that there are no air pockets. That's what we're going for first, all around the strawberries, and then I'm gonna ride it up and around the side. Once that's done, I will form a dam all around it. And really, really pipe deep into those little crevices right there. All those tiny little pieces will show through. And you can, when you take the frame off and you take the acetate off, it is possible to take a little bit of cold glaze and glaze the strawberries and then swipe the whole piece. And when you do that, you can help clean up some of the air pockets you might have left. However, don't make the air pockets to begin with, and you're set. So I have a straight blade, and I'm just going to ride up the side here, but pressing firmly to make sure that there are no air pockets. Now I can add in my strawberries. I'm gonna add a little more pastry cream, I think.
For those of you who may be unfamiliar with doing entremets and molded molds, this is the same technique that Chef is demonstrating right now, right? You're going to put a little bit in and pull them up the sides of the mold. If you've not seen someone do that, you don't just fill it up. I mean, you can. Look at this.
I mean, you can, however.
What's that?
Is there a name for that? People who do that?
Pastry chefs?
See what that should be.
No, pouring it in,
There was, that was rough. We did,
Mark knows the name.
so I'm going to mousseline over the top of my strawberries. When I worked at Citronelle in DC, we used to use the different languages for shoemaker. So we would say shoemaker in many different languages. Not that I remember any of them now, but that story just reminded me of that, so thank you.
You're familiar how insulting shoemaker is?
How what?
Insulting.
How insulting shoemaker is? Shoemaker, for you kids out there that haven't heard of it, is for someone that says they know how to make something, like strawberry mousseline cake, and then not make it. All right, so I have the last layer cake on top. And I'm going to put on the rest of my mousseline and swipe the top clean. And Josh, may I please have the mousseline cake out of the reach-in fridge? Edge. Incorrect.
There you go.
I'm looking at that one.
All set.
So for finishing this little guy, beautiful thing about these little guys is now that you put the strawberries on the outside, there's so much action going on. There's so much work already done. Putting a big, huge garnish on top isn't really what you're trying to do. It should be very, very simple where I like to see it. I mean, maybe some whipped cream, but then I'm just adding more cream. For me, I like to just put a little bit of cold glaze on top, smear it just slightly, and then I have some strawberry powder right on top, and then that's going to be all I need. For my cold glaze, a little goes a long way. And I still have the guitar sheet on there because that also is helping me to protect product from falling down the side.
Yeah, if you want to try it where you're pulling the cost down a little bit, you can mix it with donut sugar, and that's going to pull it down a little bit. That donut sugar doesn't melt, so you can kind of mitigate the cost a little bit in your shop. May I have some cheesecloth, please?
And
I got some cheesecloth coming for you.
cheesecloth is okay. I think cheesecloth and donut sugar would be fine. I like just a touch, just a little bit right on top. And you can put some strawberries on top, you can put some whipped cream on top, but that's all I wanted. I didn't want a whole ton over the top. I just wanted a little bit on the outside to say then, from here on out, you could do whatever you wanted to do next. We can bring the samples out.
They're out.
Perfect.
Let's finish this up. And
Finish this guy up. Guitar sheet. Have it. The one I made not in front of a crowd of people. Any questions at all about what I kind of made for you today? When I make these in my shop, I usually make about 4 to 6 at a time and just leave them out at leave them in the fridge, and they'll be good for 5 days, and I can serve them every night on my buffet.
The big reveal.
The big reveal.
Big reveal. Just gotta write down the there you go.
Oh, good.
So
What's your knife?
let's take a look at that one. There you go. So that's going to be
Didn't
his
work.
cross section then. Right there. And at your seats is going to be some samples as well if you'd like to give this creation a try.
And another way I like to do exactly what's out at your table to try is individuals, which is my all-time favorite way of presenting this little dessert.
Thank you.